I just walk into my presentation for the next 30 minutes, I just wanted to start with a small anecdote about my own understanding of what education is all about. An anecdote that happened about 5 years before, when I was in Chennai, when I was visiting some place and returning by afternoon around 12:30, 1 o'clock, I was feeling very thirsty. So I asked my driver, you just stop the car somewhere near a fruit shop, we will have a glass of juice and walk away. So I stopped the car and went along with my driver. I purchased a couple of apples over there and then kept it in a small bag over there. And as we had the juice, I found that 2-3 youngsters, probably in their late 20s, were there and discussing in their jeans, probably the very appearance and the profile indicated that they were working as IT professionals in the nearby area, because from the talk I could understand. And as I finished it, I got into the car and I was driving back. Almost I came back to the end of the road when I got a phone call from my mobile and said, "Sir, Mr. Balasubramaniam." Yes, I said, "Sir, you have left your wallet over here." Right, I saw the wallet. You have got some money in that. You have got your passport and everything over that. I just saw your card over there. I saw you are a CBSE director. I saw the name. I just called up. I said, "Thank you so much." In a hurry, I forgot about it and came back. And then I just thanked them profusely when one of them said, "Sir, we have also been a CBSE student." I felt very happy. I wanted to pat my back. And when I was about to leave, one of them turned to me, "Sir, we have waited for 10 minutes for you. No service is free at this point of time. So I would like you to pay for the 3 juices that we have had there." And looked at me. And I was stumped for a minute. I didn't know what to do, but I didn't want to comment because I was in a hurry. I just paid the money, about 150 rupees. I paid the money and got into the car and went through. And I compared it with an event that happened to me somewhere else when I was in Chennai, Marina Beach. I was walking through and I was walking down the platform. There are old books kept and I have a great fancy for buying old books. When I purchased two of them and I kept my wallet in the back and I was walking around, I didn't know that my wallet has fallen down. As I walked a few steps, I found a boy who was 7 to 8 years old, with rather half naked, only with a trouser. He came running, pulled my hands and said, Sir, you have left your purse has fallen down there." So I took it and I had about 3,000 rupees in that over there. And the boy didn't wait for anything. He ran back to some place. I followed him and he went and sat down near a cobbler his father was a cobbler. He was sitting and do that. I was very touched and I took from my purse. I wanted to reward him. I took 100 rupees and I was giving to that. The cobbler looked at me and said, "Sir, please don't do it. My son should not have a feeling that whenever he helps people, he should get rewarded for that. And therefore, please don't do it. You come some other time, get work done and pay, I will take it, but not on this occasion." I had a doubt between these two who was educated. One is a standard of living, the other is a quality of living. So probably all that what we do in the process of education, we address to a large number of issues which address to the standard of living, and in that process probably we forget about the quality of living, ladies and gentlemen, right? And so the topic that is given is to me is what is a thriving classroom. All of us, whether you are in a college or in the school environment, we have a classroom. Probably the concept of a classroom is breaking. It's not the walls that matter today. The idea of very classroom is becoming very conceptual, right? And that background, what we look at is, what is a thriving classroom? Even if you take a structure as a classroom, what is a thriving classroom, right? Probably I can bet if you give this question to about 100 teachers, 50 of them may not be able to even answer the question, what is meant by a thriving classroom. Right? When you talk about a thriving classroom, the thriving classroom is where you find that the student feels valued, the student feels supported, the student feels engaged, and student has a sense of ownership in the classroom. Right? The child believes that this is where I have something to say. That in other words, his existential need at that particular point of time is completely met, and therefore the teacher in the classroom becomes a facilitator. The teacher in the classroom is not an information broker. right? And therefore, the very idea of what they're teaching, if you really look into the concepts of teaching, if, the Indian perspective, Aurobindo, who brought the three principles of teaching, he said, the first true principle of teaching is that nothing can be taught. Right? So, even the current recent researchers in the neurology and neurosciences, neurocognitive sciences, very clearly indicate that there is nothing called teaching. It's only learning about. So, all that what a classroom is, that you create an environment that where the learning happens. Therefore, the earlier person said, what kind of resources that you are going to create in which the child will be happy to learn, the child becomes a self-learner. No wonder the current national education policy talks about three important aspects which are very, very important, which are absolutely in tune with the concept of mental health. It talks about the first thing, right from the primary level, nursery level, it talks about self-help skills. I think first time the policy talks about self-help skills. I think in the Indian context, this is something which we need to learn. Probably there's something which where the Western models have self-help skills, but because we have had a very hierarchical model of society here, we have not been engaged very well with the self-help skills over here. So then the policy also talks about self-learning, right? Because the whole idea about Indian education is that somebody has to teach you. Right? Now, even for training programs, when you go to the teacher and do the training program, at the end of the program, they will ask you a question. Ma'am, sir, when is the next training program? I said, the objective of a good training program is to trigger, fire the fire, to bring a fire in your belly so that you can really learn. But unfortunately, what happens is, we have been trained to put our responsibility on others. Right? So the whole problem today is, there is lack of self-learning. And I think this is very important in the Indian context, that our mindset has got to totally change. That's why I have been talking to a large number of schools. You are talking enough about the landscape of schools. It's time that you talk about the mindscape of the school. Right? Right? What is that you are looking forward to? What is that you are going to provide? Right? That we don't talk about a learning culture in the school. We don't talk about school culture. Right? We are all in the process of completely competitive assignment for an examination right from LKG. Shockingly, you find that schools are setting a question paper for KG in tune with the 10th class. Right? So that's the way that we are going. We need to understand that the concept of education is absolutely different. So, ladies and gentlemen, therefore, what education is, I don't think there is a better definition of a thriving classroom rather than what you talk about, Rabindranath Tagore, where he says where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert of the dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. Look, contextualize this into a classroom situation. Every single word that he talks about the country is fitting into the classroom. In other words, the classroom is nothing but a miniature country that you have. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, that to me a classroom is a living organism. It is, if a teacher is able to communicate with the human beings, a teacher is absolutely not a person who transacts a curriculum. A teacher is not a person who delivers a textbook. Right? A teacher is dealing with a living organism. Right? The whole concept of developing a human being has to be nurtured right from the primary level, which probably is not, because we are looking again on certification and qualification of people and not really on the education part of that. Right? Swami Vivekananda, when he said education is a manifestation of the perfection already in man. Look at the word that he used, already in man. So every human being is a potential resource. And the objective of a good classroom, the objective of a teacher is to enhance that kind of a resource. So we need to ensure that in all our B.Ed programs or training programs for teachers, whether it's a school or a college, that we need to tell them that we are dealing with human beings and not merely with textbooks over there. So, a classroom again is something like a co-construction. If any teacher believes that I am on an ivory tower and I am delivering the concept, I think they are very sadly mistaken. You may give a talk beautifully for 2 hours, but not a single word would have returned into the minds of the child, the student. And therefore, it's very important that a classroom becomes a co-constructive model where there is a viable interaction, not only a monolithic, but the question is there's a multiple interaction that's happening in the classroom over there, a vibrant interaction happening around. So the idea of classroom, to me, a classroom is nothing but a theater, right? Where the teacher is a hero or another student is a hero, and then you have many kind of actions going on over there. So children learn more. In other words, I would say that we have formalized the classroom to a large extent. The time has come that we have to informalize the classroom over there. Because today, informal learning is impacting children much more than the formal learning. Probably when I was a student, 80% of my learning was in the class and 20% was happening from outside. Today, 80% of learning is from outside and 20% happening in the class. My teacher struggled how to relate what's happening in the classroom to the external world. But today my teachers are struggling. How do I relate what's happening outside to my classroom? The reverse osmosis is indeed taking place. And therefore, it's a co-construction process. Why do we need an empowered teacher for a thriving classroom? The reason being that, I remember my first time when I entered as a teacher. In 1971, I came as a teacher. I had a great principal by name Balasubramaniam. She was a gentleman who used to come with a dhoti and a cap, right? Every morning when I used to go to the school, I used to touch his feet and then go to the class. One day when my principal doesn't come, I will think that what happened to the classroom. We feel restless, right? Unlike today, principal has not come. How many days she won't come? That's a reverse process happening today, right? And the moment I entered, my principal told me a lesson which I have followed till today. He said, "Your teacher does not walk into the classroom. Your teacher brings energy into the classroom." The classroom is an energy management system. It doesn't matter what subject you teach, at what level you teach. Everything is a bit of energy. So the good teacher is one who manages and channelizes and uses the energy of the children for productive purposes. I think that is the thriving classroom, I think. So I can relate that very incident. Just 4 years back, a very interesting thing happened. A couple of my students, in 70s, who had gone to the class 12, they wanted to have an alumni meet, and they came to my house to invite me, right? When they came, 4 or 5 of them. One of the boys told me, "Sir, you are a great chemistry teacher." I was very happy. I wanted to pat my back. But the girl who was sitting by the side said, "Sir, but one thing, sir, you taught us everything except chemistry." And she said, "We are what we are today because you taught everything except chemistry." I think, therefore, the very interesting part is to say that I'm a chemistry teacher, physics teacher, biology teacher, we restrain our functionality. A teacher has got to break open all kinds of, the restrictions that they have, because the job of a teacher is, when you talk about the nobility of a teacher, is to nurture and, develop human beings. No wonder, therefore, when Kothari Commission came with the report, if you read the first sentence of the Kothari Commission, which says that destiny of a nation is decided in classrooms, it is an eternal statement. It is not a Kothari Commission statement, but it's absolutely an eternal statement. Even 50 years later, you will find that's going to happen over here. So what happens in the classroom? What are the things that are happening? A teacher needs to remember that they deal not with the textbook, not with the curriculum, not with an examination, but you deal with people, you deal with knowledge, you deal with skills, emotions, culture, heritage, and future. That is a composite domain of a good classroom. That unfortunately what we think is we have nothing to do with skills. How many, tell me, whether it's in school or a college, how many teachers and lecturers and professors deal with skills, appropriate skills? You may teach why a pressure, evaporation causes cooling, but you may not know why the water in mud pot is cool. Right? Because we don't apply knowledge for the part of it. I think, therefore, the very important, our perception of a classroom as an empowerment tool has to change. So the question is going to be mental health and well-being of teachers and learners is a critical issue of today's classroom. What is that? The moment I enter the class, I strongly believe that ek aur period chalana hai. One more period. Oh my God, 9th class first period. I don't know why I get 9th class first period. You know, before entering the classroom itself, we kill our energy. We kill our energy. Our perceptions really create. A teacher enters the classroom non-perceptionally. Right? They have to enter a professional manner. The teacher should not be judgmental in the classroom over there. Unfortunately, we have been trained to become judgmental in the classroom. Right? I strongly believe that, when I came as a teacher, the first year, a boy who had failed in 8th class twice, 9th class twice, and when I met him, he said, you ask any other teacher who will be a rogue, who is a rogue in the school, they will say it's my name. I have written it in my book called Case Studies in Classroom, first chapter. And the boy is a CEO today of 23 companies today. Right? His failure in 8th class or 9th class did not stop his growth. The question basically is that the kind of confidence that he had, the kind of, the ability he had to get through was something great. I think that's exactly what we need to nurture. Right? So, friends, I strongly believe a beautiful sentence from John Milton in his Paradise Lost. He says, right, sub mind mein hai, everything is mind. Mind is in its own place. You can make it a hell of heaven or a heaven of hell. Right? So, Swarga, Narak, andar hai. Right? The moment a teacher enters the classroom, if you consider it's a beautiful place, it's a beautiful place. But if you think that these students are a set of rogues, they will always find that. So perceptual differences are very, very important. So, ladies and gentlemen, a healthy mind is the greatest treasure of that. The focus, wherever you are, whichever class you are teaching, is to develop a kind of a healthy mind, not a defeatist mind. Unfortunately, we have gone into a consumerist system. We have got a competitive system today. We compare people and defeat people rather than you promote them. What is going to happen if I don't get something through, right? The question is how you are able to make your life. Hundreds of case studies are available, how people have succeeded in their life, ladies and gentlemen. So, what do our ancient systems talk about mental health, right? If you look at the Indian literature, right, the objective of Indian education was to produce a sthita prajna, right? Sthita prajna. What does it really mean? It means that one who resides in his own consciousness. What is that resides in consciousness? He is a mute witness to himself. He is not impacted by what's happening. But unfortunately today, right from class LKG onwards, we compare people, right, and defeat them. You are not capable of this. You are not capable of that. That's the kind of thing that we have. So, as our gentleman, somebody pointed out in the last session, that, the Indian concept of, human development, to develop a sthita prajna, in other words, who is confident of himself. I think that's a very important thing. It doesn't matter what you do. You may start as a mechanic but end as a Ford, but you start as a cobbler but maybe end as a better. I think that's very important, rather than acquiring a number of degrees and joining as a junior engineer. 25 years later, you become an assistant engineer and said, well, I have had 25 years of service, but you have not achieved anything in life. So, talking of what the sthita prajna is, though without riches yet ever content, though helpless yet very powerful, though not enjoying sense objects yet eternally satisfied, though without an exemplar yet looking upon with an eye of equality. The courage of conviction is very important. If you go into the our rural area, you can see hundreds of farmers, what kind of confidence that they have, even though the weather things have disappointed them several times, but they have survived everything, and then they have been able to do extremely well at this point of time. So, ladies and gentlemen, the problem today we have, whether it's school education or higher education, is about the challenge between being and becoming. We call it the royal conflict today. So, in all that process, we focus our children, teachers and schools focus children in developing to become something. I become a doctor, I become an engineer, I become this, that. In all that process, you have lost what you are. I had a very interesting experience about 5-6 years back. A corporate company called for had a meeting of HR people. Nearly about 40 people had come, HR people had come over there, and I was a mute witness from the morning. Being from education, I had no other job to do. In the last session, when it was a group discussion, the gentleman who was organizing said, sir, you have not contributed anything. This session you will be a rapporteur and be a part of the panel. So I came down, sat down. They gave me a slip of paper. I said, that's a topic for your discussion. I looked at the topic. I was shocked because I couldn't understand what it was. You know what was the topic? After 40, what? I said, after 40, 41? So I called him, what is that? He said, sir, in our corporates, young people come in 20s, 23, they get into a job in a very high profile, they get a few lakhs of rupees, they sit in the computer room, and whether it's raining outside or shining outside, they don't know. For days and months and weeks what they together, once in a week they also sleep, right? And once they get married and they also have children, process goes on. After 40, one day, they have got nearly 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs of salary. Then he looks at and asks the question, have I missed anything in life? Idiot, you have missed the whole life. Right? Now he goes to his boss and asks him, sir, I want to go at 6 o'clock. The boss says, are you 40? Okay, you get this only in 40. Now the question, what I am trying to say is, our youngsters and in the competitive world, we have really lost many people, we have accumulated wealth. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the point that is coming through is, coming over here is that the NEP, as I said, has given 3 important aspects, what he calls self-directed, self-help skills, self-learning, and self-directed learning. I think this is very important, whether you are school in education or higher education, it's very important. The call of the day, whether even you are 50, 60, 70, even if you are retired, I think this is the area, because nobody is going to come and tell you that what you have to learn, how you are going to learn. We are now in what is called a knowledge society, and therefore a school education has got a system has to adopt itself, otherwise you will have a mental health problem. Right? And what is the problem with the knowledge society? As Alvin Toffler would say, right, in the agricultural society, the shelf life of knowledge was thousands of years. In the industrial society, the shelf life of knowledge was few hundred years. In the informatics society, the shelf life of knowledge was few decades. And now, in the current knowledge society, people say that the shelf life of knowledge is a couple of weeks, right? Couple of weeks. And now they have got a new name also. I just forgot what the name is. We have moved away from knowledge society. That they say the knowledge shelf life of knowledge is 24 hours. Right? Every 24 hours, the knowledge is getting updated. So that gives a lot of stress, the way that children come, the way whether into college or in school. The point is that new knowledge is coming. Therefore, the thrust of the Indian education today is shifting from knowledge acquisition and knowledge consumption to knowledge creation. I think our school system, our college systems have really missed that particular part of knowledge creation. We have only become knowledge consumers. I think that is the problem. So in the process of mental health, what is the problem? In trying to be others, what we do is we want to conquer everybody. We want to upgrade through everybody. In that whole process, we try to conquer. Conquering others requires force. Conquering oneself requires strength. I think there is a huge difference between the paradigms of both. Therefore, our approach to the education has got to change. So, what are the problems that we have faced in our classes today? Is distractions and diversions, lack of focus, impulsivity and aggression, lack of passions, and it's very important. The national policy has also said should make children to sit in a place for a long time. I think this is, otherwise we are getting into an immediate gratification mode. Urge for immediate gratification, achievement syndrome, inability to accept failure. So friends, I think, I don't know how many of you have heard Mary Seligman, who has a power of positive psychology. It's a beautiful way. He said psychology has always been dealing with more of negative things than positive things. So he came with a concept called the power of positive psychology. When he talks about life in 3 different dimensions, he says pleasant life, good life, and meaningful life, which is important. So, education should address the concept of developing pleasant life, good life, as well as meaningful life. That synthesis which is going to make really, a teacher, a child going to be very happy. UNESCO pointed out a couple of things for that. They said, what is a happy classroom? What is our holistic development? They said, for the modern day to get a good mental health, they said, think less, feel more, frown less, smile more, talk less, listen more, judge less, accept more, watch less, do more, complain less, appreciate more, fear less, and love more. I think this is a powerful message that the system is giving. So, ladies and gentlemen, that what are the pedagogical techniques that promotes mental health and well-being in classrooms? One, the power of positive energy. I think that's very important. Most of the institutions today don't have positive energy. I remember an occasion when I went to one of the schools in Tiruchi. It's a small school with about 300 and odd students. And in the school, there was a notice board outside, computer printout put across. And it said, this is a positive zone. Please do not bring negative vibrations inside. Right? That was in the school. And how many of us there can do that? I think creating a positive environment in the institutional campus is very important. You go to Oxford, you go to Cambridge, anywhere, they may have 100 problems, but you deal with what you call the positive energy in the vibrant over there. The second thing that you need to do is that learning opportunities to handle stress and failure. Now, the whole anything you do is a stress. Honestly speaking, you say stress-free. Even if you go for a bath, you have a stress whether the water will come properly, right? So the question is, stress is a way of life. All that what we need is to how to handle that stress is more important rather than saying that it's stressful. I think the very idea of stress is stressful. That's a whole thing. Our approach has got to be different. The third is, in a classroom, we should also recognize and respond children. This is something which happens, I think, both at the higher level and the school level. We have been using the red ink and finding fault with people who are not this, not that, but I think it's very important. We should be able to recognize even small things the students would do. If you appreciate, the very culture of students thinking will entirely be different. Now, don't consider bullying. A teacher cannot afford to be bullied. A single word that you talk. I have seen hundreds of cases where one single word has destroyed the life of people. One single word has changed the course of life of people. I think that's very important. I have been stressing on the training of teachers and maybe even colleges on NLP for the teachers, that how your single word can really impact the human mind, and then articulate that is to be nurture talent. Talent doesn't mean you go to a Nobel Prize or an award or something. Even the slightest good thing that a person will do, think differently, think creatively. I think that's a way we recognize promoting the children for happiness over here. And then encourage enterprise. In India, one of the major problems is we are not celebrating entrepreneurship. I've been talking that right from class 3 onwards, you need to celebrate. We don't have an enterprise mind. Hundreds and thousands of children who have gone through the engineering colleges or colleges of management come and stay, I have not got a job. When I go for a Ola cab, when I heard that the driver who came has got an engineering degree and last 2 years he is driving a car because he hasn't got a job, I feel sad about it. When I find a student of Laila College who has done MPhil in English, says I haven't got a job and he is an Ola driver, I feel sad about it, that my education system has not given them the kind of confidence to get into. So, ladies and gentlemen, building teams, all that what we have done in our school system is to encourage individuals. I think the paradigm shift both in school education as well as college education should build teams over there. I think peer learning is going to be most important thing of the future, and I think that's something which we need to address, right? So, developing a winning culture. I think this is again right from the bottom line, right? We accept defeat, but that's not going to really kill us, right? So, teach them the power of resilience. I think already she has talked about it. So, two things which I want to talk about: support excellence and not only success. Success is an event. Excellence is a journey. I'll take 2 minutes more, right? So, support success. Success is an event. Excellence is a journey. When somebody asked Mr. Churchill, what is excellence? As Churchill said, moving from one failure to another failure with greater enthusiasm, right? Moving from one failure to another failure with greater enthusiasm, right? I think therefore, one of the major problems in all productive dimensions of India is that we have not addressed to quality. Quality will come when you think of excellence. So every single work you do right from class KG onwards that you address to excellence, I think the job will be complete on that. Help them to choose safety as a way of life. I think entire process, right from the concept of safety. If you go to any school in US, UK and all that, they talk about safety of children for every simple thing. That we have hundreds of unsafe conditions in schools and colleges over here, and I think this is something which we need to talk about, right? Teach them the difference between success and excellence, as I've already said. Teach them the concept of discipline. Unfortunately, when somebody tells me that, my principal is a man who disciplines us, I think nobody can discipline you. The only person who can discipline you is yourself. All that, even if your boss tells you, why are you late by 5 minutes, it is a punishment, verbal punishment. So we have to reposition the concept of discipline in that, okay? And then, so the teacher feels happy at the end of the year that I've got a transformed child over here. So, all that what we need is a happy teacher. And how do we make a happy teacher? How do you make a happy teacher? Sir, I want to tell you a difference. I'll take a minute. We need to understand the difference between money and wealth. We are missing wealth, but we are getting money. Knowledge is wealth, health is wealth, your efficiency is wealth, your skill is wealth, your hundreds of things which wealthy. In order to get money, we lose all that wealth. Money is important, but money is not eternal, right? Please remember one thing. Therefore, our perception has to change. Thank you for a very passionate listening, because I need to stick for the time. Thank you.